Good evening, everybody. Happy Friday. Oh, Friday the 13th, actually. So, second show, and I don't know where everybody's at. People normally get in here early. Huh. So, hopefully, everybody have a good Valentine's Day tomorrow. I'll be on probably not till, I'm going to wait till about 4 or 5 for tomorrow. Wait till everybody gets home. Hey, Squaws. Nope, nothing yet. All right, how's it going? Hope everybody have a good Valentine's tomorrow, and I'll be on about 4 or 5. Yep, almost 6 years I've been doing this. I guess I was meant to be the newscaster now. I'd rather be a sportscaster, but I guess I'm more of a newscaster. Oh, it's Chico getting water. I like doing it. I won't be able to get monetized because I got a copyright or something, so are you from Canada, or guys? We'll be starting here in a few minutes. Get everybody in here. Kiki, what? You don't have anything right now, buddy, okay? You get your bones. They're showing 10 people, but you only got 2 people in chat. Come on, eat those bones. I know we started about the 10-minute mark. We're at 6 minutes now. Samantha, you must have been busy all week, huh? There's Carol. Up. I got something for you, Carol. This says, I'm going to share a photo here. I just found it. Get ready for this, you guys. Ah. I'll share the screen. Hold on. I'll get the screen up in a minute. There's Ann. Yeah, I did a show this afternoon, and tomorrow will be about 5. Everybody will be Valentine's Day tomorrow, so I'll wait till the evening time. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Oh, Chico. Hey, what are you doing? Huh? No, Chico. I'll get the window in a minute. So the bottom says, we are going to need more popcorn this weekend, you guys. So everybody got their popcorn this weekend. Here we go again. Yeah. I gotta open the window for Chico. Come here. Come on. Come on. Yep. I'm gonna do some photos here real quick. I'm gonna read something here. So we get everybody in here. KK must have been busy today. I didn't hear from her today. Sit down, Chico. So this says, and we'll say, you've been busy, huh? President Trump has been clear that Americans have a right to know that their tax dollars are not being diverted to fund acts of global terrorism or to fund luxury cars, fraudsters at Treasury. We follow the money. We got one more before we start the videos. Terry. It all boils down to one immutable fact. The legal immigrant is not a side issue. It's for the Democrats. It's everything. With it, they cannot lose. Without it, they cannot win. Oh, they're finally realizing all that. So I'm going to play a short clip I just found. If I can find it. Yep, here it is.
This is where I live. Do your parents still pay all your bills? No. Because I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. If my parents paid all my bills? We just want to make sure you got home. This isn't where I live. It's okay, Olivia. We appreciate it. You can go talk to them. Well, this isn't where I live. So if this is not where your vehicle's registered, you might want to look that up with their state. It is, buddy. My address is correct on my ID and where my car is registered. Okay. Good try, though. All right. Thanks, Olivia. Do you feel strong or what? We're good. Have a great day, okay? I'll keep following you, okay? Oh, no, she doesn't care. It's right, no, come on. She doesn't care? She doesn't care. They never do. How does it feel to be a race trader?
You know, we were trying to get a child molester, right?
No, you weren't.
Yes, we were.
How would you know? Because it was a woman you talked to. His wife?
And then his plate came back as murder.
I was going to say, calling someone a race trader.
But you guys don't care.
I hope you realize that is the most racist thing you can say as a white woman. Of course, and it is. So you know, this isn't a good look for you. You think I care about my look? Oh no, trust me. When you guys it is evident by how you don't care. We get that. Trust me. No, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying this, trying to be a social warrior. If you actually cared, you probably would care about the child who got raped and also the person who got murdered by the person that we were looking for. But see, you don't care. No, I don't care because you guys try. You just try to detain legal immigrants. None of you actually give a shit. Really? If you were here to get illegal, violent immigrants off the street, that would be fine. That's not what you're doing. It's not. No, hold on. It's okay. You need to back up. It's not. It's not what you're doing. Just so you know, if you were to spray that, you would be arrested. That's fine. Okay. Don't come close to me. Well, we're going to tell you this. Stop following us. No. It's not illegal. So you don't want us to come close to you, but you keep riding our tail. I have given you plenty of distance the entire time. Okay. Just so you know, if you do impede, I want you to hear this. Me following you is not impeding. I'm well aware of my rights, buddy. If you impede, you will be arrested. I have not impeded. I'm just letting you know. What are you looking for, you fucking weirdo?
She put that on OC? That's right.
Yeah, she did. What are you looking for, you fucking weirdo?
All I gotta say, I don't know, speechless. That's all it. You can't say nothing or you're racist. You gotta keep your mouth shut, I guess. People are never going to grow up. The ICE is doing their job, trying to get rid of all the illegal immigrants that came through the past 4 years with potato. I can't believe they're, oh. Here's another one that this lady did a good job doing. Oh, come on. Dang it. No, they're not going to let me play it. Ah. I'm going to play it on my phone.
He learned. Why isn't the mainstream media talking about the missing children that was recovered in Minnesota? Over 3,000 missing migrant children were recovered. You definitely aren't hearing this in the mainstream media. Why not? Yesterday, Border Czar Tom Homan announced that ICE had recovered over 3,000 missing children. Thanks to Operation Metro Surge, these children have been recovered. During this surge, they picked up over 4,000 undocumented criminals. Those 3,000 missing migrant children that were found, that was just in the Minneapolis area. How the Democratic Party and Governor Tim Walz could not be happy about that, I just can't understand. These are the same people that claim to care so much about children. But 3,000 missing children are recovered, and it's crickets. Those children were recovered thanks to the Trump.
So there. Dang it. There you go. That video right there explains everything what ICE is doing. Well, okay, I got a video from Texas. I might play for you. I sent it to you this morning. I'll play it a little later. Okay, what do we got here? I gotta adjust everything now.
Allow the Elector of Saxony.
Oh, wait up. Okay, let's do a Q video. Q only has one out right now. What is going?
What's up, family? Welcome back to Out of the Darkness. I am Q. Now, if you are not aware, there is a totally different standard for the left and the right. So I got a chance to look at an article and I thought, well. Sometimes when you have a crisis going on or when there's a major event going on, people's lack of discussion about it or lack of interjection can sometimes speak louder than what they actually say. There hasn't been anything of consequence in Trump's history or his history as president that has been a scandal that Barack Obama has not directly interjected himself into. When we saw Ronald Reagan leave, he left. When we saw, for a great part of it, Bill Clinton leave, he left. When George Bush left, he left. But Obama has been holding on to the last bit of power that he can glean, and has really kind of stationed himself as being the de facto head of the Democrat Party. Now, it's interesting to me that Obama's White House counsel, okay, this lady by the name of Kathy Rumler. Now, she was a Goldman Sachs attorney here as of recent, but she has now stepped down from her position because of the revelation that she was very close to the late, or well, I don't even want to say late because I'm not even so sure the guy's gone, but to Epstein. Now, I know many of you guys have gotten tired of hearing about this, but I'll explain to you guys in another video why I will not let this go. So the interesting part about it is that she not only referred to him in a treasure trove of emails as her friend, she believed that he was like family. She called him Uncle Jeffrey or Uncle Jeff. So this woman was very much involved, but this woman was not just the White House counsel for Obama. She was his fixer. When things needed to be fixed, she was the one who got called in. She was the crisis control. If you've seen many of these movies about presidents and when they have issues or personal issues that need to be dealt with or make them go away, that was this woman. Now, it's not ridiculous for people in positions of power to have fixers. Donald Trump had a fixer in Michael Cohen, but I find it interesting that when Michael Cohen was found to be a dirtbag, immediately Donald Trump was being called a dirtbag as well, because hey, he had a fixer. He had a guy around him that was a fixer, and he was peddling taxi tokens in the city of New York, and he was this and he was that. And so all of a sudden, because Donald Trump was associated with him, Donald Trump was an evil man. Well, the question is if this woman was a close associate and a fixer for Jeffrey Epstein, if this woman was so close to Jeffrey Epstein even after his conviction that she referred to him as family, then why isn't Obama under the same level of scrutiny? Why are we not calling Obama crooked because his associate, his fixer, was also the fixer for Jeffrey Epstein? I think we got to look into this. And also, why is Goldman Sachs let off the hook? Why are they allowed to just let her walk off into the sunset if this woman is a criminal or was a known criminal or associated with a criminal? Then Jeffrey Epstein, then I think that Goldman Sachs needs to be looked at as well. I don't feel like I'm not going to be okay with just seeing low-hanging fruit be punished or lose their job. I want the higher-ups. I want the people who were responsible directly for hurting children. I want to see them pay the highest price. Let me know what you guys think about this. Do you feel Obama should get a pass? I'll see you guys next time.
Okay, you had a second one out just now, but I want to play this one about the recovery from Georgia newscast.
By an investigation into so-called deficiencies in the 2020 election. That is according to an unsealed FBI agent's affidavit filed by the DOJ in federal court today. White House correspondent Liz Landers has been following the updates from this case and joins me now. So Liz, what more are we learning from that latest legal filing about the raid and why the federal government seized those election documents?
This 22-page affidavit that was unsealed this afternoon gives us a glimpse into what the federal government's argument is here about why they conducted this raid a few weeks ago. And they say that this is based on belief that there's probable cause that there was violation of the retention and preservation of election records in Fulton County, and also deprivation of a fair election. So the way that they conducted the election there apparently was not fair. This is according to some of this document. So the main FBI agent who wrote this affidavit has been at the agency for 5 years now, and he goes through some of the issues, some of the deficiencies that the government is saying occurred. He said that the county did not have scanned images of all 528,000 ballots. They are making the allegation that some of the ballots were scanned multiple times, that the hand count did not match the actual count. I would add that a hand count almost always is inaccurate because of human error, and that total votes were 17,000 votes fewer than the original count. Many of these claims have already been out in the public before. Some of these have been addressed by Fulton County and by the Secretary of State's office. But this is the compilation and the affidavit, which was signed off by a magistrate judge there. And one other detail in here, the FBI says that this investigation originated with a referral that was sent by Kurt Olson, who is a Trump-appointed director of election security and integrity now.
So they're alleging Fulton County did something wrong here. What's Fulton County saying about all this?
Well, Fulton County, the Board of Commissioners, has already sued the federal government at the end of last week to get these ballots back. They say that this was an improper raid and search. I spoke earlier today with the Fulton County Board of Commissioners Chairman Rob Pitts. We talked to him right as these documents were coming out, and he said that the Fulton County Board of Elections, complied with everything that the FBI was asking for. They turned over those 700 boxes worth of elections material, tabulator votes, the absentee ballots, all of the ballots, and the voter rolls. Everything they said that they complied with and turned over to the FBI. But he says this is not just about Georgia. He says that this is a broader affront to voting and to elections in this country. Listen.
I think it's much, much bigger than Fulton County. President also mentioned 15 states that he has some concerns about. Georgia, I think, is probably at the top of that list for the reasons that I've stated, but the others, need to be aware as well. And that's why I think, if they're successful in doing whatever they plan to do here in Fulton County, Georgia, and in the state of Georgia, they're simply going to go to other states and do exactly the same thing.
Pitts also said, Amna, that now that material, all the elections material that was seized, has left their own premise, their own building, that he doesn't know where that is now. And he said that he can't verify some of the personal identifying information that's in some of those documents, like in the voter rolls. And just one more thing, Amna, that I want to underscore for our viewers is that this all happened at the direction, Tulsi Gabbard says, of the president. She was down there at that election office in Fulton County. Highly, highly unusual to see the director of national intelligence at an FBI operation like this.
I want to circle back to a name you mentioned, Kurt Olson. As you mentioned, he's a special government employee President Trump has now empowered to investigate the 2020 elections. Tell us more about Mr. Olson and what we should know about his role.
If you've been following some of the January 6th the special committee that happened up on Capitol Hill a few years ago, and you've been following some of this election denier movement, you have maybe heard of Kurt Olson before. He's an attorney. He has been involved in litigation, fighting what he said was Joe Biden's false win. So he has long denied the election results of 2020. He also represented Carrie Lake when she was running for governor, and then she did not accept the election results in Arizona. And at the time, Olson was sanctioned by an Arizona court for false statements that he made related to that case. He now is overseeing these investigations. The CIA confirmed to me today that the president has asked Mr. Olson to look at intelligence related to the 2020 election, and the agency, the CIA, is ensuring that he has the access necessary to do his work. Politico is reporting that he has access to sensitive intelligence. When I asked the White House about this earlier today, about his work, what kind of sensitive intelligence he has access to, they said the president has the authority to provide access to classified material to individuals as he deems necessary. The entire Trump administration is working together to ensure the integrity of U.S. elections. Amna.
White House correspondent Liz Landers, we know you're going to continue to cover this story.
So that's an update from that last month. That was a good report. So the next one is the one lady a while back I did, but this might be a new one. Paul and Flying Eagle's not in yet. Oh wait, we gotta do the second Q video.
.37% of filers qualify. Simple Form 1040 returns only. File now.
What's up, family? Welcome back to Out of the Dark. I am Q. So on a good note, it looks like they finally have enough votes to be able to pass the SAVE Act. Susan Collins is the 50th vote in Congress or in the Senate, and they needed 50 plus JD Vance to get to 51. It took a lot of doing and a lot of political capital. I don't want to know what had to be promised to get these people to vote. And really and truly, I'm ashamed that it took this much to finally get people to vote for something that's an 85-15 issue. 85% of the United States wants voter ID. Every politician lives to find things that they can run on that 80% of the country actually want. So if 85% of the country, that's Democrats and Republicans, want voter ID, then we have to ask ourselves, who are the overlords and who are these people working for when they are dead set against voting for something that 85% of the country wants? But they have finally come to the table. Some say they're still not going to do it, but you have 50 people in the Senate who said they're going to. Now, the only hurdle, the last hurdle, is to do away with the zombie filibuster. We talked about that the other day, going back to an old school traditional filibuster, by which if you were going to argue something on the floor, you had to stand the entire time and you had to argue. You yielded your time, it was over. So at this point, we're going back to what the founding fathers expected us to have as a filibuster. If you're willing to go that far and to stand for that amount of time, good on you. But at the end of the day, that is positive. But President Trump has now said, if this does not take place and we do not get the SAVE Act passed, that he is going to sign an executive order forcing the country to have to use these voter IDs, or to have voter ID and prove citizenship in order to vote. Now, interestingly enough, many of you might be asking, why didn't he just do this from the beginning? Because in going about it this way, that is not the constitutionally favorable way to do this. If Congress passes it, Senate passes it, there is no going to court and fighting it out. If President Trump signs an executive order, there's going to be stay after stay. It's going to finally end up going to the Supreme Court, and hopefully it gets to the Supreme Court in time. But you know that the Dems are going, well, I'm not even going to say the Dems. You know that the elites are going to do everything they can to fight it till the very last minute, and then say, well, the ballots are already printed. We've already gone so far. We'll have to incorporate it for 2028, but it would be an undue hardship for us to do this in this amount of time for the vote in 2026. So I can see how this is going to be a problem. This is not going to go off if President Trump has to go about it with an executive order. This is not going to go off without a hitch. So the best chance that we have of shoring up votes and getting real voter integrity is for Congress to do their job and to pass this bill that 85% of the country wants. This is something that should make people think and get out of their tribalistic zones. This is no longer a Republican and Democrat thing, because we're having a hard time getting Republicans to take the win, to take the high ground, to actually represent 85% of the country. Once again, if you're not representing 85% of the country, then who are you working for? That's what we need to find out. But we'll take the win. I'll see you guys next time. Comment below. Let me know your thoughts. I'll see you guys next time.
Okay, we got 2 Q videos in. The next one is a lady that did the 9/11 report. I believe this is a new one. I haven't played her in a while, so we'll see. It's about 6-7 minutes. Oh, wait. This one's a different one. Hold on, we'll play this one.
Located right on Lake Erie. For over 80 years, they produced industrial chemicals, materials. The process generated massive amounts of toxic waste, hexavalent chromium, the same carcinogenic chemical from Aaron Brockovich, heavy metals, solvents, all of it had to go somewhere. For decades, Faro dumped waste directly into Lake Erie, discharged
4 minutes on
contaminated
this one.
water, buried waste on site, stored chemicals in unlined lagoons that leaked into groundwater. The contamination spread into the lake, into soil, into groundwater, into the neighborhood. The area around the plant was working class, predominantly Eastern European immigrants, Polish, Slovak, Hungarian families. They lived within blocks of the facility, drank well water, fished in the lake, grew gardens in contaminated soil. In the 1980s, the EPA discovered the extent of contamination. Soil samples showed chromium levels thousands of times above safe limits. Groundwater was poisoned. Lake sediment was toxic. The site was added to the Superfund list in 1986,
Paul, you're from
one of
Ohio,
Ohio's
right?
most contaminated industrial
For
sites.
Flying Eagle?
Faro was ordered to
I can't
clean
remember
it
which
up.
one.
The company fought back for decades. They disputed the
Paul's not in yet.
contamination levels, challenged the cleanup standards, delayed remediation, hired lawyers, filed appeals, anything to avoid the cost. Meanwhile, the contamination spread. Groundwater plumes extended for miles. Lake Erie sediment remained toxic. The neighborhood continued to be exposed. In 2010, the EPA finally forced action. Consent decree. Faro had to begin cleanup, remove contaminated soil, treat groundwater, cap waste areas. The estimated cost over $200 million. But here's what makes this story infuriating. Faro is still fighting. The cleanup is ongoing. 38 years after being designated a Superfund site. The company claims they're making progress, but the contamination remains. Groundwater treatment systems run continuously, will have to run forever. The contaminated sediment in Lake Erie? Still there, too expensive to dredge. So it stays, buried under newer sediment, but not gone. And here's the environmental legacy. The neighborhood around Faro has some of the highest cancer rates in Cleveland. Lung cancer, bladder cancer, kidney disease. Residents have been breathing chromium dust for generations, drinking contaminated water. The health impacts are documented, but proving causation is nearly impossible. Faro denies responsibility, claims there's no direct link. The legal standard protects them. Today, the Faro site is partially operational. Some manufacturing continues. On top of a Superfund, Cleveland, Ohio, the Faro.
Okay, news out of Cleveland there. Okay, this next one's about 6, and then I'm going to play the one video for Kay out of Texas. So I don't know how, this might be a new one. It might.
I bought this magazine back in 2012 off of eBay because it's David Rockefeller, the man who more than anyone made sure that the Twin Towers got built so that he could destroy them with people inside. And it's shortly after construction began, so I thought there might be some interesting, sneaky revelation of the method, style, language in the article. Then I noticed that he has the hands of his quite visible watch set at 9 and 11. I always felt like there must be more to this cover, but it took me 3 years to figure it out. As you can see, he's sitting in the window of his office in 1967, 8 months after the groundbreaking for the building of the World Trade Center, with the hands of his watch set at 9 and 11, like I said. 9 and 11 on clocks was one of their favorite ways to foreshadow the upcoming date of their mass murder. They did this in many movies, television shows, and even commercials in the lead up to 9/11. Either the hands are pointing almost exactly at 9 and 11, or it's 11 minutes after 9. There was always something that bothered me about the so-called plane hole on the north face of the North Tower, the iconic one that really represents the 9/11 false flag and the one that they show us the most. I knew it was an important shape and angle for Rockefeller, and he knew well in advance exactly what he was going to make sure that it looked like. After all, it appears on the $10 bill back in the 1990s series, along with all the other scenes from 9/11 laid out in perfect order on the bills. This is also one of the first things that showed me that there were no planes used on 9/11. So the other day it occurred to me, the fake plane hole on the North Tower looks like one of the wounds that was on the Jesus statue on the crucifix at the church when I was a kid. Same
Hey, you
shape
remember
and
this one?
angle. So I start looking up crucifixion images just to be sure, and this article comes up. Jesus' crucifixion date, possibly April 3rd, 33 AD, according to earthquake study. See, the Bible says that when Jesus died, the ground shook, and they're able to go back that far and figure out when earthquakes occurred, apparently. April 3rd just happens to be the date of this magazine. So then I checked how many years there were between 33 AD, the probable year of the crucifixion, and 2001, the year of the mass human sacrifice on 9/11, foreshadowed on Rockefeller's watch. The number was 1,967, represented by the year seen here. In case you haven't heard, many people have been saying for quite a while that the probable actual birth date of Jesus was September 11, 3 BC. On that date, Jupiter, the king of the planets, collided with Regulus, the regal star, in Leo, the king constellation. I'll link to a much more thorough explanation below, but to me, it's one of those things that make a lot of sense. And after studying these people for a while, it's exactly the type of thing they like to do. Take something pure and important to a lot of people and twist it and pervert it. Have the sheep celebrate the birth of Christ on the wrong day, coinciding with a pagan holiday, actually. The very word Christ's Mass does not mean the birth of Christ, but in fact his death. So they take the date 9/11 and corrupt it into something that in our minds signifies emergency, and make the actual day into a day of terror and sadness and mourning. And this is just the creepy member of their club that would enjoy gloating about it on a magazine cover. In the 1940s, David Rockefeller's uncle Winthrop Aldrich was on a committee to attempt to get the World Trade Center built back then. They were also foreshadowing 9/11 in the 1944 movie Double Indemnity, and even throwing in an allusion to the name Rockefeller in the same film. In the 1960s, a plan was introduced for a nationwide emergency number. Britain implemented 999 as their emergency number back in the 1930s. Australia and New Zealand selected 999 and 111 respectively as their emergency numbers in the 1950s. Yet for some reason, in 1968, just a year after this magazine came out, AT&T announced at a press conference that a universal emergency number was being established for the U.S. However, instead of 3 like numbers for ease of dialing in a crisis, numbers that could not be further apart on the dial would be used. 9 and 1 and 1 had been chosen by a computer, they said. Besides being a client of the Rockefeller-funded and directed RAND Brainwashing Institute, the 1975 book The Rockefeller Syndrome lists AT&T as just one of the many companies under Rockefeller control or influence. In the book Rockefeller, the Man Who Misrules the World, AT&T is referred to as the Rockefellers' family-owned monopoly. So they used their power to make the numbers 911, birth date of the Prince of Peace, signify danger and crisis, and after September 11, 2001, heartache and mourning. Rockefeller puppet Ronald Reagan even designated September 11, 1987, to be 911 Emergency Number Day, calling on the people of the United States to observe this day with appropriate ceremonies and activities. And every year, like clockwork, the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree, an enormous representation of the one thing the Bible tells us not to drag into our homes and decorate with gold and silver, is lit at 8:55 p.m., when hands on the clock are exactly as they are on Rockefeller's watch. So here we have David Rockefeller, the man who was instrumental more than anyone on the planet in ensuring that the Twin Towers got built. Less than a year after the construction began, with the probable date of the crucifixion of Christ above his head, along with the years between that event and 2001 listed here, and the probable date of Christ's birthday and, of course, the date of the mass murder that took place in his towers in 2001 on his watch. A mass murder during which a slice appeared 1,000 feet up over southern Manhattan for all the world to see, similar to the wound depicted in many images of the person that the event seems to revolve around. And just as a side note, if you open this thing up, there's a cigarette ad on the back cover that puts 2 tower-looking things in red right about where the towers are being built, to David Rockefeller's right, if this picture continued west. So this is what we're dealing with. Sick arrogant people that feel the need to put their mark on everything in an attempt to convince us that they have total control of everything, which means they don't. As for God and Jesus and the Bible, I know it's trendy to be an atheist and hate all religion, but obviously those who hoard the knowledge, the same people that do very well if we're misinformed, plan their events around these things we're not supposed to believe in. Maybe they know something we don't. All pertinent links in the description, and thanks for watching.
Yep. I think that's a new one. I'm not sure. She's been on for a while, so I haven't played her in a while. Okay, this is the Texas video. Then got a 8-minute one, and then I'll do Billy Bean. What the heck? Hang on a minute. I'll do this over again.
Just another high security data center, nondescript, fortress-like, surrounded by fences and cameras. But make no mistake, this building is arguably the most dangerous structure in America right now, at least in the eyes of the traditional financial establishment. This is the Texas Bullion Depository. It is the first and only state-administered precious metals depository in the United States. And its very existence is a quiet, concrete declaration of war against the Federal Reserve's monopoly on money. While the rest of the country argues about interest rates and debt ceilings, Texas has quietly built the physical infrastructure to opt out of the system entirely. If you want to understand the silent revolution happening in the financial system and how you can position yourself before the rest of the world catches on, do yourself a favor and click that subscribe button right now. We dig deep into the stories the mainstream media ignores, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. For generations, the rules of the financial game were simple and undisputed. If you were a sovereign state, a central bank, or just incredibly wealthy, you stored your gold in New York City, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, sitting on top of the bedrock of Manhattan, and the private vaults of giants like J.P. Morgan were the center of the universe. Trust was centralized there. New York was the custodian of the world's wealth. But in 2015, Texas flipped the table. Governor Greg Abbott signed House Bill 483, legally birthing this depository with a stated goal that sent shockwaves through Wall Street to repatriate $1 billion of Texas gold back home. Why go through the massive expense and logistical nightmare of shipping heavy bars of metal halfway across the continent? Because Texas sees the writing on the wall. They looked at the Federal Reserve's exploding balance sheet, the weaponization of the global financial system, and the paper gold games played on the COMEX, where hundreds of paper claims exist for every single physical ounce. They decided that when the music stops, they want to be holding the chair, not a claim check for a chair in Manhattan. Possession is 9/10 of the law, but in a financial collapse, it is 10/10. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. And Texas decided it was time to own its future. This isn't just about storage, it is about sovereignty. The Texas legislature is dusting off a forgotten clause in the U.S. Constitution. Article 1, Section 10. It says essentially that no state can make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts. For 50 years, since Nixon closed the gold window in 1971, the clause was treated as a historical artifact, a relic of a bygone era. But Texas is operationalizing it. They have built a sovereign vault outside the jurisdiction of Wall Street and the FDIC. They are creating a physical reality that challenges the digital illusions of the fiat system. By centralizing the physical metal within the state's borders, they are creating a legal shield against federal overreach and financial contagion. It is a state-level firewall against a national level failure.
See, Dollar Shave Club just has great razors at a great price and no bull.
Sunmade makes brightening the everyday moments easy. Make every bite shine.
But here is where it gets truly revolutionary. Texas isn't just sitting on a pile of gold like a dragon guarding its hoard. They are actively exploring legislation to monetize it. Imagine a world where you have a debit card in your pocket, and when you swipe it at your local grocery store to buy a brisket, you aren't selling devaluing US dollars. You are selling a fraction of a gram of gold stored securely in Leander. The transaction bypasses the Federal Reserve entirely. It creates a closed-loop, gold-backed monetary system that operates in parallel to the dollar. This is the ultimate nightmare for central planners: competition. The monopoly on money relies on there being no viable alternative. Texas is building the alternative. The timing couldn't be more critical. We are watching the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, accumulate gold at record paces to escape the dollar's orbit globally. They are building a settlement system outside of SWIFT. Texas is doing the exact same thing domestically. The catalyst was the University of Texas Investment Management Company, or UTIMCO, which manages billions in endowment funds. They held nearly $1 billion in gold, derivatives, and bars in New York. The state leadership realized that in a true crisis, a cyber attack, a grid failure, or a federal confiscation order, like we saw in 1933, that gold would be inaccessible. By moving it to Texas, they have de-risked the state's future. They have insulated their pension funds and endowments from a systemic failure in the banking sector. They have taken their chips off the casino table while the wheel is still spinning. And unlike Fort Knox, which is a black box that hasn't been properly audited in decades and is shrouded in secrecy, the Texas Bullion Depository is open for business to you. Any American citizen can open an account. You can ship your gold there. And here is the vital legal distinction you need to understand. When you put money in a bank, you are an unsecured creditor. That money isn't yours anymore. It's the bank's liability. If the bank fails, you are just another person in line hoping for a payout from the FDIC, which has nowhere near enough money to cover a systemic collapse. In the Texas Depository, the gold remains your legal property. The state is just the custodian. If the state of Texas were to go bankrupt tomorrow, your gold is not an asset of the state. It cannot be seized to pay their debts. This offers a level of counterparty risk protection that simply does not exist in the commercial banking system. It is Title I ownership, pure and simple. The motivation is clear. Texas is preparing for a scenario where the federal government defaults on its obligations, or where the dollar loses its status as the sole medium of exchange. By hoarding physical metal within their borders and building a transactional layer on top of it, they are insuring themselves against the death of the fiat currency regime. They are building a lifeboat while Washington prints trillions to paper over the leaks in the ship. The difference in strategy is stark. One is gambling on the status quo, continuing forever despite the math saying otherwise. The other is building a fortress for the future based on thousands of years of monetary history. This brings us to phase 2 of the plan, monetization. The physical vault was just the foundation. Now, the political leadership in Austin is drafting the blueprints for a functional currency. Supported by the sound money movement, bills have been introduced to create a digital currency backed 100% by the gold in the Leander vault. This solves the age-old problem of the gold standard, transaction friction. You can't shave off a piece of a gold coin to pay for coffee. It's too clumsy. It doesn't work in a digital economy. But by digitizing the title to the gold, Texas makes it as divisible and liquid as a Venmo payment. It effectively creates a stable coin, but unlike the crypto versions backed by questionable commercial paper or unverified reserves, this one is backed by cold, hard metal that is audited and insured. Politically, this is a preemptive strike against the central bank digital currency, or CBDC, that the Federal Reserve is developing.
Happy Friday.
Widespread power outages across the area with more wintry mix heading to the Midwest. Stay tuned for more.
Governor Abbott and his allies view a federal
guys.
CBDC as a tool of surveillance and control, a way to track every purchase, censor transactions, or freeze assets of political dissidents. The Texas gold currency is the anti-CBDC. It is state-based, privacy-centric, and deflationary. It gains purchasing power over time rather than losing it. It offers citizens an opt-out button from the federal monetary system. It reintroduces the concept of financial privacy and property rights into the digital age. Of course, this sets the stage for an inevitable constitutional showdown. Washington will hate this. The Treasury will argue that it undermines the full faith and credit of the United States. They will claim that a state issuing a competing currency is a violation of federal supremacy. But Texas will point to Article 1, Section 10, and say, we are following the Constitution. We are not issuing fiat paper. We are facilitating the use of gold and silver as tender. They are threading a legal needle by not coining money in the traditional sense, but facilitating the barter of commodities. When you pay with a Texas gold card, you are technically bartering gold for goods. The state is just the escrow agent. This legal jiu-jitsu is designed to survive a Supreme Court challenge. It forces the federal government to argue against the plain text of the Constitution. The threat to the Fed is existential because of Gresham's law and its inverse, Tears law. Gresham's law says bad money drives out good. People spend the paper and hoard the gold when the exchange rate is fixed. But Tears law says good money drives out bad when the public rejects the bad money in a free market. If inflation spikes again, and Texans have a choice between holding savings in a dollar, losing 15% of its value, or a gold account that holds its value, they will flee the dollar. Imagine if major Texas companies like Tesla or ExxonMobil started accepting this currency. Imagine paying your property taxes in gold credits. The loop would close, and the Federal Reserve note would become irrelevant within the borders of the world's 8th largest economy. That is monetary secession. It creates a zone of economic stability that the rest of the country would look at with envy. We are already seeing the contagion. States like Utah, Wyoming, and Tennessee are following Texas's lead, passing laws to eliminate capital gains taxes on gold and silver, treating them as money rather than collectibles. They are dismantling the tax barriers that make using gold expensive. They are creating a sound money block in the American heartland. The Texas Bullion Depository acts as the central bank for this new block, providing the vaulting services that other states lack. It creates a parallel banking system immune to Fed rate hikes and bank failures. It allows these states to trade with each other using a neutral reserve asset, bypassing the dollar entirely if necessary. Critics will scream that the federal government will just seize the gold, like FDR did in 1933 with Executive Order 6102, but 2026 is not 1933. Trust in government is at historic lows. Information travels instantly, and seizing gold from a sovereign state like Texas would require a level of force that would spark a constitutional crisis, if not a civil conflict. Governor Abbott knows this. The Texas Rangers guarding the vault know this. They are betting that Washington is too weak, too distracted by foreign wars and domestic strife to stop them. They are betting on the golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rules. By physically securing the asset, they change the leverage dynamic completely. For the individual investor, the Texas Bullion Depository changes the calculus entirely. Most people think they own gold because they have shares in an ETF like GLD. That is a dangerous delusion. ETF shares are claims on a complex web of unallocated metal often stored in London banks. In a true crisis, those funds have cash settlement clauses. They can write you a check in depreciating dollars instead of giving you the metal. It is the ultimate bait and switch. You bought the gold to protect against the dollar crashing, but when the dollar crashes, they pay you in dollars. Texas offers segregated storage. Your specific bars are wrapped, sealed, and placed in your own slot. You hold the legal title. It is the only form of ownership that survives a total financial reset. Using the depository is designed to be simple. You open an account online. You can ship your existing metal to Leander using insured carriers, getting it out of the banking system or your backyard where it is vulnerable to theft. Or you can buy directly from major dealers and have it shipped straight to the vault. This allows you to build your own personal central bank in a jurisdiction that is actively hostile to federal overreach. You aren't just buying gold, you are buying jurisdiction. You're placing your wealth under the protection of Texas law. The Texas Bullion Depository is a monument to the end of trust in the traditional system. It is a physical manifestation of the belief that if you don't hold it, you don't own it. Texas has looked at the trajectory of U.S. debt, $36 trillion and climbing, and concluded the math does not work. They know the music will eventually stop, and when it does, physical reality is the only thing that will matter. They have built their ark. The doors are open. The rain is starting to fall. The only question remaining is whether you're going to get on board before the floodwaters rise. This is not just a story about gold. It is a story about freedom, foresight, and the future of money itself. The depository stands as a challenge to the status quo, a beacon for sound money advocates, and a fortress for those who understand that, in the end, tangible assets are the only true safe haven. When you look at the macro environment, the de-dollarization of the BRICS, the weaponization of finance, the uncontrollable spending in Washington, the Texas move looks less like a radical experiment and more like prudent risk management. They are simply doing what central banks around the world are doing, accumulating gold. The difference is they are doing it for the benefit of their citizens rather than to prop up a failing currency regime. They are creating an opt-out mechanism for the people. Consider the psychological impact of a functional gold currency. For decades, we have been told that gold is a barbarous relic, that it has no place in a modern economy. If Texas succeeds in making it spendable, they destroy that narrative. They prove that sound money is not only possible, but superior. They expose the inflation of the dollar, not as a natural economic phenomenon, but as a policy choice. This is why the establishment fears this project so much. It isn't just about the money, it's about the narrative. If the Texas gold note holds its value while the dollar loses 5% a year, everyone will see the difference in real time. It becomes a daily referendum on the Federal Reserve's performance. The logistical achievements here should not be understated. Building a Class 3 vault is not easy. Creating the digital infrastructure to track fractional ownership of physical bars is complex. Navigating the regulatory minefield of banking laws is treacherous. But Texas has done it. The facility is live. The metal is flowing in. The legislation for the digital currency is moving through the committees. This is not a pipe dream. It is a reality that is unfolding right now. The infrastructure is built. The legal framework is being solidified. The political will is there. And let's talk about the insurance. The gold in the depository is fully insured by Lloyd's of London. This adds another layer of legitimacy and security. It is not just the state's promise. It is backed by the global insurance market. This makes it palatable for institutional investors, for pension funds, for family offices. It opens the door for massive capital inflows into the Texas system. As more capital flows in, the political power of the depository grows. It becomes too big to fail in its own right, but for the right reasons. The existence of this facility also puts pressure on other states. If you are a conservative state governor and your citizens are asking why their tax dollars are exposed to the risks of the New York banking system while Texas is protected, you have a political problem. We could see a domino effect where more states repatriate their funds, further draining the liquidity of the traditional system and strengthening the parallel system. This is how the monopoly breaks, not with a bang, but with a series of exits. Ultimately, the Texas Bullion Depository is about choice. It gives Americans a choice between a debt-based currency that requires constant inflation to survive and an asset-based currency that preserves value. It gives them a choice between a banking system that privatizes gains and socializes losses and a custodial system where property rights are absolute. It gives them a choice between trusting politicians in Washington or trusting the periodic table of elements. The train is leaving the station. The early adopters are already moving their metal. The smart money is diversifying out of the financial system and into physical assets. Texas has provided the vault. History has provided the warning. The rest is up to you. Will you leave your wealth exposed to the whims of a failing system, or will you secure it in the only fortress designed to withstand the collapse? The Texas Bullion Depository isn't just a building, it is a declaration of independence. And in a world of financial tyranny, that is the most valuable asset of all.
Quickest way to shrink your prostate.
Okay, I hope that one was okay. People that live in Texas. Okay, this next one, we'll do this one. Let me know if this is okay or not.
About the temple, I did some more digging, and I'm going to let you know what I found. I need your help to help answer some of these questions. I came across this company that had a bunch of renderings and photos of the temple. This came in a deck of a design company out of Dubai. Creative Kingdom Dubai. First of all, if anybody knows anything about Creative Kingdom Dubai, please let me know. I can't find a thing about them. It seems as though they were doing some renderings of the property. There were photos like this of some drawings. Look at this guy's like hairy arm. So creepy. What's he pointing at? They even dubbed this temple area as the astronomical area, which look at my last video to help explain that. Now, they had this map in here, and I was like, wait a second. What is that? Dog Island. What the hell is that? This is by where the temple is. There is a pathway to this, and then this is the island. This is Dog Island, right across from Little St. James. So I started thinking, okay, there is a small island across from this temple. Okay. And I'm like, does he own this island? So, of course, I looked it up in the e-files and I found some information.
This is a new lady.
So this is an email from Cecile de Jong. In my playlist, you'll see several videos breaking down her involvement with Epstein. She was the first lady of the Virgin Islands, okay? And she also worked for Epstein. She helped facilitate things, and she helped him buy Dog Island. So she says in here that the Virgin Islands is willing to entertain selling islands that it owns. We'd need to send a letter of interest and they would commence on having an appraisal done. Look what Jeffrey responded with. Let's do it for Dog Island. And she was saying it is on a type of bird sanctuary. Well, they ended up getting the appraisal for $1,100,000, which to me, that's not that much for an island. I didn't know you could just buy an island
not
like this
yet.
for 1.1
Hey,
mil. Let's do it. Let's do a
these,
GoFundMe and buy a fucking island.
minute
This
ones I
was
got.
in July 10th, 2014. They bought the island. The island is only about 200 to 300 feet away from Little St. James. This was another photo that was in that deck, okay? And if you see here, it says Ann R. She is on a ton of the emails about him trying to buy Dog Island. I believe this picture is taken from Dog Island, and it's only this far away. I think it's only 200 to 300 feet away. And here is the temple. Also, if you haven't seen this TikTok, it's John Megna. He was able to get on the island, and underneath the temple, there is a tunnel that he found. Now, Dog Island is uninhabited, okay? It does not have any buildings or anything like that. It's actually a bird sanctuary. So nothing was on this island, but it was close to Little St. James, aka E Island. This is about a year after they bought this island. This is from Customs and Border Patrol. It says, requesting permission to check Little St. James Beach number 3 for a package that may have been abandoned due to illegal trafficking around Dog Island and Little St. James Island. Illegal trafficking. Now, it doesn't specify what type of trafficking, but clearly the Border Patrol was on alert on Dog Island in 2015. Now, flash forward to August 19th, 2019, when the feds executed a search warrant for Little St. James Island because of a child investigation. In this document, there is no mention of Dog Island. Nothing. They did not search Dog Island. There's also no pictures in the e-files that I can find of Dog Island. So hear me out. Here is my theory. This is where that temple was, where in my last video, we were talking about some really messed up rituals that were most likely happening in there. Okay. Look how close it is to that. Okay. If one were to dispose of things, wouldn't one just simply put it on an uninhabitable island? Somebody needs to search this island for remains. I can't find anything in the e-files that say that this island was searched. Does anybody have any information on Dog Island? If you do, please put it in the comments and please investigate yourself because I think this is a key of where some remains could be on this island. After my last video.
That was a good one. That's the new lady there, TikTok. Okay, let's get Billy Bean down here.
Welcome to Truth by Billy Bean. Today's date, February 13, 2026. Time in Texas, about 2 p.m. And happy birthday, Sean. A great day for you. Some of the things we'll cover: an update on the Nancy Guthrie case, President Trump frees the U.S. from climate hoax, and was Texas and Louisiana hit by Mexico, Iran, and the CCP? We'll talk about it. And the U.S. is sending a 4th carrier to the Middle East. So let's get started. I'll begin with space weather. This comes from YouTube Space Weather, formerly Suspicious Observers. We do have the sun is quiet in terms of flares. We do have a comet MAPS that's going to skim the sun and likely will be burned up by the sun, but it may come out on the other side, but that's going on. And early next week, April 4, well, the comet is going to skim the sun April 4. And early next week, we will have solar wind that could give us a low-level G1, G2 geomagnetic storm. And we have the Sven-Davidson on the MAPS comet.
Horses.
That, yes, going to skim the sun, and it will likely burn up as it does so. But we can expect tomorrow, Valentine's Day, February 14, low-level G1, G2 from solar wind. The solar wind produces on the Earth like a shock wave effect, which leads to the geomagnetic storms. So that's going on. And we have this, and we know that affects communications, and we have a lot of comms going on globally. So we have this great news. President Trump has liberated the U.S. from the climate hoax. Now, 30 years ago, when I was taking my environmental courses, a big theme was the global climate change was occurring as a result of anthropogenic activities, meaning human caused. Now, my major was general science, so I was taking biology, geology, astronomy. So my perspective was a little bit different from people who were just taking one area of science. And even 30 years ago, I did not buy what the EPA and the UN were putting out about global climate change being brought about by human activities, because it wasn't logical. And even when I worked for a major oil and gas company, certainly my view ran totally opposite of the EPA regulations coming out and whatever. But when you're in that position, you have to take what is the U.S. government putting out. So now President Trump and the EPA, led by Lee Zeldin, has brought about the greatest overturn of regulations in the U.S. history. That had to do with the 2009 regulations put in place by Obama that were designed. So the climate hoax, starting 30 years ago, was a program, in my opinion, to bring about crushing economies all over the world by increasing certainly energy costs, but also strangling business, and also reducing the general health of plants, humans, and animals, depopulation. It sounds like a deep state theme, doesn't it? And I didn't buy the general premise that was put forth that it was caused by humans, and this is why. So on the Earth, we have several layers of our atmosphere. Human activities do not penetrate these higher levels of the atmosphere where climate is actually produced in conjunction with the sun's activity and impact on the Earth. So I applaud President Trump for and in 2009, the commie Dem Obama just put in more restrictive regulations. So those are going away. It's going to benefit automobile. We can see automobile costs going down. It's going to benefit manufacturing, who will be freed from unrealistic attempts to restrict CO2, carbon dioxide. And it will benefit oil and gas and other industries. Now, let's talk about CO2. That was the big point. Take down CO2. Well, I knew from my biology courses that it wasn't logical. we need CO2 on Earth for abundant life. The higher the CO2 level, the healthier plants are and the healthier humans and animals are. Why is that? I'll show you. So we have plants that take in CO2, and then the plants produce oxygen, and this goes to humans and animals. Then humans and animals breathe out CO2. It's a symbiotic relationship created by God. The more CO2 you have in the atmosphere, the healthier plants are, crops, and they put out more oxygen. And then as humans and animals consume the healthier plants and also breathe in a higher level of oxygen, the healthier humans and animals become. And it's been demonstrated by real science that over the last few hundred years to 1,000 years, the level of oxygen in our atmosphere has actually been going down. So, President Trump benefits life on Earth and also the economy of America by getting rid of regulations that were designed by the deep state to crush economies and also decrease the health of life on Earth. So way to go, President Trump. That's going on. We have this update about Nancy Guthrie. Apparently, there is some friction between the Pima County Sheriff's Office and the FBI. The Pima County Sheriff's Office found a glove. I reported in my last video that the Pima County Sheriff's Office has been out in the area near Nancy's house with their forensic team like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And they found a black glove that apparently the Pima County Sheriff's Office believed might belong to the kidnapper. Well, they wouldn't let the FBI take it for testing, and they've sent it to a lab in Florida. So that's going on. We do have more of a description of the kidnapper. He's believed to be 5'9" to 5'10" inches tall, a medium build. And there are new pictures of his face. We could see on BP Earthwatch's
4747, tax-free. That's how much you'll save each
video. So more pictures of the face. I assure you, the FBI's technology and other agencies can just have parts of a face and produce a list of possible matches in the U.S. Hey, and you know, when you go to Walmart, their facial recognition cameras not only identify you when you walk in the store, but then they track you through the store to see what it is you're looking at. Yeah. It is something like Big Brother, but certainly in criminal cases and so on, facial recognition is a very useful tool. And we pray, and I did a misspeak in my video saying that Nancy had just been missing since February 11. I meant February 1. So this is day 13 for an 84-year-old woman who has a pacemaker and needed certain medications on a daily basis. So we continue to pray for Nancy and her family and the law enforcement agencies involved in a 24/7 look for her. So that's going on. And also the FBI has increased the amount of money they will pay out. If you have information regarding the kidnapper and it leads to an arrest, the FBI will pay you $100,000. So that's going on. And now we have this from some Facebook information Senator Kennedy of Louisiana, I like this guy. He's kind of a firebrand. Wants to open a federal investigation into George Soros and his $1.4 billion funding of Open Society, which we know is a big source of money going to the paid commie agitators in the U.S., $1,000 to $2,000 per day. He also wants to launch a federal investigation into the New York City mayor race, where Senator Kennedy alleges there were 1.4 million fake ballots. Way to go, Senator Kennedy. And we have this. Okay, I'm going to begin talking now about a possible hit upon the U.S. I believe Monkey Works also put out some not direct information, but certainly implicit words along the same line. That was my thinking also. So we saw Wednesday that the U.S. had shut down airspace in El Paso, Texas, and also New Orleans, Louisiana. Now, let's be reasonable. We see now it's coming out, oh, the U.S. military, they saw a couple of drones, or maybe it was a balloon, and then they shut down 2 major airports and caused all this disruption. Shut up. Let's be reasonable. The greatest military in the history of the world, you think they don't know what's coming over the southern border? And we know now that the Border Patrol also has lasers, directed energy weapons supplied by the U.S. military to shoot down drones. And the Border Patrol is trained by and supervised by the U.S. military. So my thinking, and I believe that Monkey Works has some thinking along that same line, is that this was a real event, a real strike on America. Coming out of Mexico, where there is 1 million, it's a paramilitary made up of the cartels, Iran, IRGC, and CCP soldiers. And I believe there was a real strike on America. That's why the U.S. military scrambled then to close the airports, because the U.S. military recognized they had to use the really strong lasers they had to protect the southern border of the U.S. The Border Patrol is using a lower level energy laser to take down small drones coming from Mexico. I believe that these drones that were coming in were weaponized and posed a clear and present danger to the United States of America. And that's why the U.S. military closed the airports, put a NOTAM over El Paso Airport and New Orleans Airport. And we have this from, I think this is TMZ, and the laser system the U.S. military has is called Locust. And does that remind you of a verse from Revelations? We will see locusts. So these strong lasers that can take down commercial planes, cargo planes in the sky when it's turned on, That's why the airports were closed. Are located near El Paso at Fort Bliss, which is a hub for the use of these locust lasers. And also, my thinking is this paramilitary out of Mexico most likely also was testing the response of the U.S. military. Baby, if you don't think that we are going to be hit inside the U.S. when the U.S. launches the largest naval battle in history against Iran, think again. Keep your powder dry, baby. And the U.S. military has been developing these laser-directed energy weapons since the early 2000s. And they now can take down large drones. Well, if you can take down a commercial plane out of the sky with your laser, you can certainly even take down large weaponized drones that can carry bombs. So the locust laser has cameras on it also to give feedback to the U.S. military, electro-optical, infrared. They have also high frequency and passive radars, plus traditional radars. And now they have these locust lasers on certain vehicles, so that makes it mobile and they can move them around. They can also be moved to remote locations by helicopter. And we have this. They come equipped also they can combat AI-operated drones, including swarms of drones. They can also take down cruise missiles. The power of these lasers is 500 to 300 kilowatts. And all branches of the service are using them. They were developed by the Army, but they're used by the Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, and Space Force. So that's going on. And we have this from MonkeyWorks, talking about the drones from Mexico near Fort Bliss, near El Paso. And Monkey's thinking, I believe, correlates to mine. Something real happened, and the U.S. military shut down the airports in El Paso and New Orleans so they could safely defend the U.S. against an enemy strike and not cause harm to planes in the air. So that's going on. And we have this. Also, the U.S. military can geofence or locate drones. And on the Mexican border, I've been hearing this for years, and I believe it's true. There are the cartels, Iranian IRGC, and now CCP soldiers. So they were protecting America from a strike by foreign nations. So that's going on. And now we'll talk about what's going on with Iran. So we have our fourth carrier, the Gerald Ford, now going to Iran. We know in this area, we already have the Lincoln, we have the Nimitz, we have the Bush, and now going, we also have the Gerald Ford. It's being moved out of the Caribbean to the Middle East. Now, MonkeyWorks thinking also correlated to mine with regard to when some sources in the last couple of days said, oh, the U.S. has just decided to send the Nimitz and the Bush. But I put that out last week, and I believe MonkeyWorks put out about February 3. The Nimitz and Bush had been directed toward the Middle East. So, yeah, that's going on. But now we're sending the 4th Gerald Ford Carrier Strike Group that came out this morning from Tusi TV. And we have this. We had a statement by U.S. Treasurer Scott Bassett about Iran. And it's highly unlikely Iran is going to make an agreement with the U.S. And Tusi TV reports no more talks are scheduled. We were hearing about tentative talks next week, but that's off of the table. And we have this, that also we had from Iran a government official flying to Shanghai, China. So we also have China involved in this. And I guarantee you, there are CCP in Mexico who are prepped to attack America. There's also inside the U.S. cartels.
Fannie Mae Pixies. When premium ingredients like smooth caramel,
Iranian, IRGC, and also CCP. It's been widely known for years that they had been let in, certainly, during the Commie Dem JB's time. They are in the U.S. I'm totally confident also that the U.S. military knows where they are. But yeah, that's going on. And we had a government official from Iran
coming up there just
flying to Shanghai. I believe that was yesterday, in the last 24 hours, to pick something up. It's not being reported what. Now, January 8, oil was $60 a barrel. Yesterday, it was $68 a barrel. It's believed that if kinetic hot shooting war breaks out in the Middle East against Iran, that I believe Martin Armstrong predicted oil could go to $240 a barrel. And we are learning that the U.S. has evac the U.S. military out of Syria, who had been at the Al Tanif base. And we have this. We have also from Seacoast aggregate site Gospel News that China has in this area around Iran. So we've got Iran, we've got the Persian Gulf, we've got the Gulf of Oman. So we have somewhere here 3 Chinese vessels, destroyers plus 2 support ships. So they're there. And what China is doing with these destroyer is providing intel to Iran with regard to the location of U.S. Navy ships and other ships in the area from other allied forces. So that's going on. The Chinese ships are receiving the intel via satellite and then sharing it with Iran. And we have this. So recently, the U.S. put into Jordan. So we have Israel, Jordan right about here. The U.S. Put in air defense systems, THAAD. China immediately relayed this information to the Iranian government. Intel. And we have this. We have also today Secretary of State Marco Rubio meeting in Munich, Germany with China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi. I'm totally confident that a topic of conversation is going to be China providing intel to Iran. And oh, let's not forget, President Trump is blocking oil from Venezuela to China. And he also appears to be getting ready to block oil from Iran to China. So if China has a little sense, they will stop providing intel to Iran. So we have the USS Ford deploying today from the Caribbean. It's going to take 10 to 12 days for them to arrive there. At this European summit in Munich, Germany, also a speaker will be Reza Pahlavi. He's the son of the previous Shah in Iran, who was head of the government before that was overthrown, that brought in the Ayatollah. So it's believed that Reza Pahlavi, since the early 70s, has been in exile in the U.S., is going to the Munich, Germany meeting to address world leaders. And it's believed that President Trump has picked Reza Pahlavi to head up a transitional government.
See, Dollar Shave Club just has great razors at a great price and no bull.
Sunmade makes brightening the everyday moments easy. Make every bite shine.
After the regime change in Iran, when the Ayatollah leaves. Now, I will say this. I heard on Tusi TV today a song sung by an Iranian man. He was on a train in Iran, and he sang a very moving song about the desire for the Iranian people to have liberation. Yeah, I recommend going to Tusi TV and listening to that very moving song. And we have this. The UN has taken some type of against the Islamic Republic in terms of recognition. So that's going on. And we have this information also, I believe, from Tusi. He has contacts inside Iran, and I believe he also appears to be able to translate their language. So in Iran, the Ayatollah government, the people are getting ready to protest again. So the Islamic government, military, are not going to go out on the streets because they are experiencing direct attacks by the people. So they're just putting snipers on buildings so they can just shoot the protesters in the streets. So that's going on. And we have this. So there have been 2 earthquakes in Iran today, it's believed. These are produced by Iran testing something, possibly nukes. So today they had in southern Iran a 4.2 and a 4.7. President Trump, in a recent speech, talked about the new phase of open war. So that's going on. Let's have a short prayer. So this is based on Nehemiah. We pray, Father, in the name of Jesus, and many call Yeshua, on behalf of the people of Iran, to end their captivity and to let the iniquity and sin of the current Iranian government, Father, be before your eyes. And we pray, Father, in the name of Jesus, and many call Yeshua, for fortitude, strength, and wise planning for the liberation of Iran by the United States of America, Israel, and other like-minded nations. And we say thank you, God the Father, God the Son, Jesus, whom many call Yeshua, and God the Holy Spirit. I say to my family and friends, remain steady out there, continue to pray. God is in charge and he is on the move. I love you and I'll see you soon.
Okay, that was Billy Bean for today. All right, yeah, this next one about this lady's she gets quite a lot of views, so this must be a good video. So we'll see what Flying Eagle thinks.
And I saw some questions in the comments that we can answer, including, well, the state of New Mexico just said that they were going to launch an investigation. Actually, they've been saying that since probably about September of last year. It's passed through 2 committees. Now it needs to go to the final one so that it can get approved. But I'm getting ahead of myself.
Hello, I'm Darlene Street with Sotheby's International Realty here in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
9 minutes
Please
on this
enjoy your
one.
tour of this lovely property today.
Brief rundown of the ranch. Now, keep in mind, I've been covering this for years. I have a huge playlist about this. So this is just kind of a nutshell of the situation. If you think I missed anything, as always, this is a collaborative experience. Please leave it in the comments and go watch those videos. Jeffrey Epstein purchased Zorro Ranch from our former governor, Bruce King. I've seen some confusion about that, thinking that it was Bill Richardson. He and Bill Richardson had a very close relationship. However, this was purchased from the King family. They still own a lot of land in the area. Epstein was also very close with Bruce's son, Gary, who was the Attorney General for the entire state of New Mexico and accepted many campaign contributions. Many prominent figures visited the ranch, which you can see through all of the flight logs. If you look at those, ZOR is Zorro Ranch because it has its own landing strip, which we're going to get to in a minute with the infrastructure of this place as we walk through it. Jeffrey was also very close to many people who were prominent in New Mexico, including our scientific community, because the goal for the ranch was to use it to, quote, seed the human race with his DNA. That brings us to the newest claim that there are people in the ground out there, which I would absolutely not doubt. New Mexico, especially out there, it's in the middle of nowhere. You're going to see that, and you saw that from the videos. Plus, if you saw the video that I posted the other day, there's digging equipment out there. So if they don't hustle buns and get out there, there's not going to be anything to find. But with the Truth Commission, reading through the fine print of everything they're saying, I don't think there's any plans to actually investigate out there. This is why we got to read the fine print, people. So they did actually do interviews with people who would be involved with this. And the people from the Truth Commission within this article say straight up, they do not have the power to go out there and do anything. So they have to pass it up to someone who's higher up. And the higher up is saying that he believes this is unsubstantiated, and what he's really worried about is misuse of state trust lands. Okay. He also states clearly they are not doing anything without seeing unredacted emails, and we know that that is not going to happen. So I would pretty much, even if you get your Truth Commission, they're going through paperwork. This isn't going to yield anything substantial. Little receipt on the Truth Commission. Last time I talked about it was November 17th. However, they started discussing it September of last year, which was a steady 6 years after, and they cared about it so much they're pushing it through with the speed of smell. Another couple bits of really important information. This place was never raided. The FBI has never gone out. The police were never there. The only people that ever visited were people from the Land Commission in New Mexico. However, they were told you're not allowed to come in here, and they just left and did not pursue it any further. It was sold for an undisclosed amount after being on the market for a while to an undisclosed entity, San Rafael LLC, which nobody even knows who owns that LLC, and it's a very new one. Some of these things on their own don't add up to, but when you put them all together, it really is a head scratcher. What you're seeing here is this is actually a natural ridge that's near the house. This is the entrance gate, which I've shown you pictures of, right? Then this is where you get up to the main house, but this kind of skips over Ranch Central, right? Because you have to go through Ranch Central to get here. Main house is just as opulent as you would think that it would be. A lot of stuff like this. Don't rich people have just the absolutely worst taste you've ever seen? Just because it's expensive doesn't mean it's good. I mean, calling Caesar's Palace, hello. 26,700 square feet of the tackiest furniture you have ever seen. And here's the other kicker about it. All of this was sold with the property, because you got to remember, this place was never raided. This place was never searched, anything like this, because this would all get destroyed. They'd be cutting things open and pulling things. Oh, well, maybe that's just what they do in impoverished neighborhoods, maybe. But that's one of the reasons I don't feel so bad putting this place under so much scrutiny, even though it has a new owner. You wanted to live in this. You wanted all of this darkness and all of this pain to be your home. Well, you're going to dance with the devil. You're going to be under the pale moonlight. I don't know what to tell you. This is what you see when you get past the 3 security gates. There may be more now. They're doing a lot out there. And this is what you're going to see when you're walking into the main house, the 26,700 square foot house. One thing that I really want you to notice is this video was taken about 3 years after he was no longer here. Look how nice everything is. The fountains are working. We've got things kempt. We've got things kept up. That is because, seen them myself, I can show you pictures sometimes, this place never stopped running. There were always ranch hands out there. There was always someone doing something. Heck, you can look up a story about when they got robbed. I'm going to show you what was taken in a minute. That the ranch hand actually stopped someone out and held them at pew pew point until the police got there, which I thought was amazing. I didn't know the police knew where this place was. So I guess I'm proven wrong every day. Now, think about it. When you're looking at all of this, I really want you to think about this tangibly. This is the middle of nowhere, even though you're seeing this gigantic house. Once you look kind of out and they show you the bird's eye, you are brought here and you want to run away. Where can you run to? Nowhere. Nowhere. The main house is disturbing, and check out the digging equipment. There's a bunch there if you didn't see the video directly before this one. But the part that disturbs me the most about this property is the town that Jeffrey Epstein built. He built this with a very clear intention, not to mention when you see the types of houses they are, knowing what kind of business he was running, and being someone who has unfortunately been caught up in that type of business in my past, I know exactly what these houses are for. You're going to give the people going there experiences, and you can sustain the infrastructure you need to start having a baby farm, basically. If you're unfamiliar with the language of experience, it's basically the person paying, whoever they're paying, they want either like a girlfriend or a wife or something a lot worse that nobody wants to be a part of. That can also include the environment. They have like a ski lodge, even though you're not skiing out there, that sort of thing, just so you know, and continuing. This is the lodge. This is set quite a bit off from the other houses, and it's a log cabin. It's meant to mimic a ski lodge, literally. A better look at the lodge, which, oh my God, can you imagine what it feels like? Because I know what it feels like just being on the street next to this place. Can you imagine? Like, you must have to be like a truly evil person to be comfortable here. I'm just saying. That's all I'm saying. Then you're going to go down this road and we're going to get to the airport, which there's 2 helipads. There's one by the house and one out here. You can also land a plane here. Terrifying. Yes, I know. This is a better view of the airstrip. Now, since this has been taken, they have built a better radio tower near the airstrip. And if you're not using it, that seems a little strange. So there's that. But the whole thing's a little strange. So there's that. This is Ranch Central. This is a town. This is a fully functioning. I'm talking, we got a general store and a fire department in here on top of water retention tanks. We've got some stables, which for like 5 minutes, there were some horses in there. Now they're gone. I don't know. Bird's eye. This is a quick rundown of what you would find in Ranch Central. Now they have the ranch office because this was going to be run as a town. It was being run as a town, in my opinion. They've got the Adobe residence, yellow house, red house, bunkhouse, horse shelters, firehouse. It's a literal firehouse, like with a fire truck. I'm not even kidding you. Then they've got the barns, they've got a heated garage, all kinds of stuff. And have all that without very well thought out infrastructure to help you run your little town in the middle of nowhere. We're talking water tanks, fire retention tanks, wells, all kinds of stuff. This is the fire station, and one of the few times the police actually found their way out to this place was because someone broke in and stole a mirror off of this truck, and they were caught leaving, but they were held at, again, pew pew point until the police could get there. Again, I didn't know they knew where it was. They left this one off a lot of the descriptions, but included the pictures. Now, Sotheby's has taken this entire thing down. The video doesn't even exist anymore. But here's the general store, the Blue House. Back to that talking about experiences thing, the log cabin. Further evidence of a completely self-contained system, greenhouse, and they've got the fire trucks, they've got, they got everything. They really, honestly, outside of getting deliveries, wouldn't have had to bother with the rest of the world, and I think that was exactly the plan. Stables, and I include this one because it's interesting. Right after the sale, I saw a few horses out there, and then they just disappeared, and I don't actually know what this ranch does for money. The yellow house, I'm telling you, the list goes on and on. There is a lot out there, and just all that we know, it feels so wrong. It feels bad. That's it for this one. I think I made it really clear, but one thing that I would like to extend just the most amazing, I think that you guys are amazing. I have seen that our legislators, they're making videos. You guys are calling. You're not down with this, and you're letting them know. Now, do I think that anything is actually going to happen, anything tangible? No, I don't. I've lived here too long. I know how it works, and I know that this was a cover-up that everyone participated in. But I'm glad that we all know about this, and I'm glad that you guys are calling, and I'm glad that we're making noise, and I am so proud of you. That being said, I know this was a long video, and if you stayed for the whole thing, I really appreciate it, but there was a lot to go through. I'll see you guys soon. I hope.
Oh, I gotta make sure I don't lose track of her. She was good. Okay, we're gonna do some short clips before we get to the next two clips of the one guy on YouTube. Okay. Thanks, Andrew.
Video about how I'm struggling so much. Let me explain why, because I've heard some new stuff today too. But I have been down the rabbit hole for probably about 6 years.
That's about how long we were.
It's one thing to hear the rumors about what is going on, what has been happening to children. It's a completely different thing when you see it in black and white. What these terrible people are doing to these innocent babies and children. This has been going on a long time. Also, in the files, they were talking about planning pandemics back in the 2010s. I can't remember if it was 2014, 2016. I don't know. But they were actually planning pandemics. Do you hear me? Not only that, they started some like baby making farms where they wanted specific bloodlines. They wanted just a whole new race of people. If you think they have any good in their heart whatsoever towards you or me, you are wrong. These are evil, evil people. And I just keep thinking the Bible says in Revelation that in the end times, it will be like it was in the days of Noah. It had gotten so bad in the days of Noah that God destroyed the earth and started over. How much worse can it get? I mean, this baby sacrifices and stuff, that has been going on since pretty much the beginning of time. So you're a fool if you think there's no way this kind of thing is happening now. They're sacrificing them to Moloch, Baal, so many of these so-called gods. And our government officials, most of them are saying, there's nothing there. There's no case. There's nothing. I'm just at a complete loss with all of it. What to do with everything that I know and that I've learned, and that to think nothing is going to come of it, it's just heart crushing. And there's a lot of people online, especially on it, who are ready to go scorched earth. But we don't have the names. We can guess who's doing all this evil, but we don't have it in black and white. But it's just a lot to process and a lot to take in. You know, it's one thing to hear a rumor. It's completely different to find out it's reality.
Okay, that's the first one. She has two more.
Was a master chess player. Like, he is phenomenal at 4D chess. Here's my question. Who is his opponent? Who is he playing chess against? Is he playing it against the elites, the swamp in Washington? Or are we his opponents? Are we being played? Were we played? I don't know. But just looking at everything from face value, it certainly looks like he played us really hard to get into the White House. And then the promises he's made to us about taking down the swamp and getting justice for these child predators does not seem to be coming into fruition. European countries are now arresting people that have appeared in the Epstein files. I've heard the King of England looking to start an investigation against his own brother. So why are there no arrests or no serious investigations into that here right now? Just questions I have. For years, I've heard that Donald Trump was...
That was another good one. She's right. Okay, I think this is a different one.
Simulation most of your life. It almost feels like we've all been living in the Truman Show. And I just wonder, who is it that's been watching us? Checking to see how we're going to react about things. I don't know. I'm really struggling, y'all. Especially with Trump's response to all this.
I know Trump's speaking,
I'm
but
really struggling.
I don't know what he's talking about.
They're really struggling with all this. Anybody else out there feel like you've been living in a...
I don't know if Kay can go check it out or not. Kay, can you?
Famed researcher Peter Schweitzer dropped a bomb on Sunday that CIA Director Radcliffe couldn't contain. pointing directly to CIA London station chief Gina Haspel and British intelligence as the masterminds behind the Russiagate coup against Trump. This isn't about Hillary and Obama anymore. The real crime scene was London, and the evidence trail leads straight to the heart of the British Empire's war on American sovereignty.
One name I'd like to see out there more is Gina Haspel. She was the CIA director appointed by Donald Trump. She certainly had access to this material. It's interesting to me that she had been the London chief of the CIA in the 2000s. In 2014, John Brennan sent her back to London, which is a highly unusual move. And she was there throughout this period. And much of the Russia collusion intel, fake intel, was coming out of London from Steele and others. So it's a very interesting question. Role did she play not only in perhaps creating this, but what role did she play in suppressing it when she was CIA director and she was supposed to be serving Donald Trump rather than the CIA establishment?
Boy, did Peter Schweizer just expose the man behind the curtain. It's why the people telling you Russiagate was an internal U.S. matter solely based on Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and their people in the FBI and CIA are covering up big parts of the real story. I'm Barbara Boyd, and I've documented the international side of Russiagate and its impact on war and peace ever since Senator John McCain said that Russian cyber meddling in the 2016 election was an act of war, requiring a direct NATO military response. That got my attention. Today, I'm going to start at 30,000 feet and tell you the real fundamental beliefs that Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump share. They both hate the modern British financial empire and the New World Order brought into being when the Soviet Union collapsed back in 1989, 1990. Then I'm going to show you that Christopher Steele was not a washed-up, mediocre spy who went rogue. That's the lie the British told the Trump administration in 2017, and it continues. Finally, I'm going to illustrate how Trump's attack on windmills Sunday shows the difference between the dark age imposed by the globalists and the new golden age, which the Trump administration is now building. Before I dig in, please go to the Promethean Action website and become a paying member. Nobody else is going to give you the picture I'm about to develop for you. And we need your help to expand this movement. Now, you can't really understand the stakes in this story without taking it back to 1989, 1990, when the Soviet Union collapsed. The New World Order, which came out of that, dominated the United States until Donald Trump's victory in 2016. Vladimir Putin ended their reign in Russia, and that's why they've been at war with him ever since. When the Berlin Wall fell, Lyndon LaRouche and the government and financial leaders of Germany, along with a faction in Russia, saw German reunification as a huge opportunity to do something very big and bold for humanity, develop Eurasia. But the British killed that prospect. They crushed German Chancellor Helmut Kohl in a propaganda campaign, and Germany surrendered its sovereignty to the European Union. Kohl's financial advisor, Alfred Herrhausen, was assassinated. At the same time, the Bush and Clinton administrations worked with the British to plunder and collapse Russia. Under the shock therapy imposed by Harvard's economists, Russia's entire industrial base was auctioned off and sold to criminal Russian oligarchs who emigrated to London, George Soros, and the Harvard Endowment. Russia's population was pauperized. Organized crime ran rampant. Putin stopped that by kicking out the predators and declaring Russia first. Since there was no longer a Soviet Union, the one worldist reason, there was no longer the need for the advanced industrial and scientific advances necessary to fight wars. Both Europe and the United States outsourced their industries to China and other cheap labor locations and imported immigrants for menial labor. Like Putin, Donald Trump broke their spell when he declared America first. He spelled that out fully at the United Nations in September of 2019. He said the future belongs to the patriots, not the globalists. Now, the treason.
Okay, that's the first one with her. The other lady on TikTok, they do a good job. More short clips. See here. Here's another one of Kate. I found a couple new ladies that are good.
So a few people are leaving messages. Why'd you delete my comment? Why'd you I don't delete anybody's comment at all. Just understand, I don't care what you put under my posts. I will never delete your comment ever. I want the sleepers to stand out to the public. I want everyone to know that you have not done any research at all, but you want to jump on someone's post and try to bash them when they've been doing thorough research for years. I want you to stand out. Understand that. I don't take anything offensively or personally. I know the research that I've done, and I have full trust in myself. And what I've researched is true, or I wouldn't put it out there. I don't care what you think I look like. It doesn't bother me. I know the truth, and I will not be deceived anymore. My entire life, I've been deceived and living in lies. We all have. And once you wake up and realize that, maybe you'll start researching too and find out the stuff that I've found out. Until then, just understand I will never delete any comments on my post. A lot of people want to know about President Trump being the last president. He's the last president of the corrupt corporation that has already been switched back to the Republic. We are no longer a corporation. We were our entire lives. We are not anymore. This stuff will be announced when the military, when they want to announce it, not when any of us want to announce it. I simply make videos to wake up sleeping people.
Good one here.
Do with it what you will. You don't have to wake up at all. You can say I'm crazy, but I know I'm not. So he is the last president under the corrupt corporation. We are back to the Republic, and it has not been announced yet. It will be. Is Elvis gone? No. No, he's not. He's not. Call me crazy, but he's not. People are worried about their own country. I'm getting a lot of messages, private messages from people in Canada and the UK that are worried about their own country, and rightfully so. We're worried here in the States too, but just know that this is a worldwide operation. It's taken place worldwide. There will be peace for everyone in the end. Worldwide peace. You watch and see. When that will happen, what month, and exactly what year, I don't know. I'm not running the operation. I just do deep diving research and talk to people that I know, and I get my information that way. Let's just leave it at that. I have to watch what I say here on TikTok and spew out also. Biden's inauguration, it was not, that was his funeral. I don't know if you guys noticed or not, that was his funeral. Have they cleared tunnels out? They have. They have. Those children will get the help that they need, the ones that they found. They're currently getting help. The banking system, that was another thing brought up. We're running parallel to the old system. Our fiat dollar is useless. It's fake money, printed money. We're still using it to purchase stuff, but the system has changed over. We're just running parallel. Two systems running side by side until it's announced. I don't do the announcing. I do the researching and digging deep. That's all. If you have any questions you want me to answer and I can give you my opinion in a video, just go ahead and comment below and you can ask me a question, and I'll let you know what I think in another video.
I know.
You guys got to wake up. You gotta wake up. I can't imagine
Thanks, Carol.
what kind of world you're going to be living in here if you never wake up to anything. You people are the same people that thought that was the real Biden, when all of us knew years ago that wasn't him, walking around like a robot. You gotta wake up. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
That's another good one. Okay, what do we got here now? We got two of the other lady that does the Bible. I can find it. We'll probably go to 8:30. Here you go. I'm going to do the rest in short videos. Oh, Chico. Okay.
Probably watched the video clips of Pam Bondi.
This guy has Trump derangement syndrome. He needs to get. You're a failed politician.
Yeah, not a complicated question.
Well, I guess it is for you because you have a law degree and those are privileged. Do you even know who Chase Mulligan is? You're so obsessed with. You don't.
I'm going to teach you the rules again.
Have you apologized to President Trump? Have you apologized?
I think we can all agree that was super unprofessional. And it really got me thinking how scared someone has to be to make a complete fool of themselves on TV. It was like she wasn't even the attorney general, but someone who was working his campaign. And then I seen something. This photo right here. This man right here is Keith Frankel. He's in the Epstein files about 460 times. One of the emails says, attachments, the body box. His dad, Ed Frankel, and his wife established this charity in Ukraine. It's a children's home. And they did this to save children from the war. And there's also emails of Keith Frankel meeting with Jeffrey Epstein several times. So you got to ask the question, why is she hanging out with him? And is this the reason why she's protecting all of them? Listen up. Now, most of y'all have probably watched the video clips of Pam.
So I'll do about 4 more short ones here.
I spent my career at CIA and NSA. I also advised other intelligence agencies. I now have my own corporate intelligence firm. All of these opinions are my own, and everything we're going to talk about today is open source. Sleeper cells are people who are embedded into life here in America. The countries running counter-intel operations here in America play the long game, and they're very good at it. So your China, Russia, Iran, those are your long game. Then you have your short game, your Al-Qaeda, your terror cells. So there's 2 types of sleeper cells. One being your state assets, which we just talked about. They embed themselves. There could be your neighbor. They could be on your PTA. You would never know. They have boring lives. They seem normal. They don't stand out. They have fake backstories, fake covers, fake marriages. Think The Americans, the show with Kerry Russell. Similar. Then you have your short-term terror cells, that are your sleeper cells, which are the ones that I'm currently concerned about because they cause the most havoc, the most casualties. Those are your shorter term. They come here. It's like the 9/11 pilots. They came here. They learned how to fly. They were here for like a few years or a year. Then they got the call to do their attack. And when the border was open, so many of them, in my opinion, came through. And what will happen is they're radicalized here. They live here, but it's not for a very long time. They don't play the 10, 20-year long game. And when they get the call to be activated, they're doing attacks, casualties, killing people, setting off bombs, etc. And that's what's scary. The Russia, China, Iran sleeper cell are your state assets that are embedded here, and they're collecting information, pushing information, they're influencing, figuring out which politicians can be bribed, pushing an agenda, etc., etc., etc. They're like a slow bleed, whereas the terror cells are like gashing open your main artery. Let's talk about Russia today, because this one is really scary, and you can start to see some of this in your everyday life if you know what to look for. But they'll plant people in media, lobbyists, think tanks, online communities. Their job is to slowly push narratives, leak stories, amplify outrage when the timing is right. Any narrative that's being pushed one side or another that doesn't make sense and causes more division inside of America. That is what they're doing, and they're doing a good job at it because, right, welcome to Sleeper Cell.
Okay, another new lady on TikTok. I got 3 more, you guys. So, play this one.
She is sharing her daily information about what is going on at Guantanamo Bay. I'm just going to share some clips of what is going on because this is what they're doing behind the scenes. But I want you to listen carefully to some of the things that she says. This is just less than a 2-minute clip. Listen to what she says about what she's doing there at Guantanamo Bay.
As the Trump administration begins its first 100 days in office, we are at Guantanamo Bay and we'll be reporting from here at Camp Justice. We'll be inside the courtrooms.
That was a waste. I can't play it with music over. We'll get to the last 2.
Globalists on matters of foreign policy, war, or cultural policy stirred up a firestorm. You haven't seen anything yet. Back in 2023, in a speech to auto workers in Michigan, Donald Trump threw out a challenge to Americans to join in the ultimate strike against the global financier elite. The first 5 weeks of Trump's 47 administration have initiated that strike. Donald Trump and his team are beginning to challenge the very essence of the empire's power, which is their grip on the world through their central banking system and their control of money. And they know it. Their response ranges from the threat of a financial meltdown to the continuing danger of World War III. That's how insane they are. This is Susan Kokinda, and in this midweek update, I'm going to look at why and how we can defeat them, what are our weapons, and what is our strategy. The first thing you do when you're fighting a war is understand the nature of the enemy. Well, the enemy is empire. Most of you have been accustomed to calling them the globalists. But it really is time to shift from the generic name to the... If you thought President Trump's challenge to the globalists...
Okay, I got the second part. This will be the last one till tomorrow night.
British Empire in its modern form, not by the way the British people. The only effective opposition to empire is the sovereign nation state in its most advanced form, namely the republic. So let's look at the difference between our relations, or lack thereof, with Canada and our relations with Mexico. Donald Trump's defense of our sovereignty and our people has forced the elites to come out of the closet and make Mark Carney the Prime Minister of Canada. As Barbara went through in her Monday update, Carney is the pure essence of British imperialism, a Canadian trusted enough by the British elite to serve as the head of the Bank of England for 7 years, the only non-British person to do so since it was founded in 1697. Or, as Politico put it, Carney is a career banker and a climate advocate with the globalist mindset of a Davos man. He made no doubt of his assignment in his accept brand name. And the brand name...
Okay, that was 2 with her. So we got 2 older ladies there on TikTok. That's going to wrap it up for another long day of intel. Hope everyone have a good weekend and Valentine's Day and stay safe out there. Thanks to the mods. Carol, Kay, Tim, Lucy, Fine Eagle. God bless everybody. Love all. Remember, please hit the like and go to the description box and sub to the backup channels, please. And stay safe, stay strong, keep the faith. Never give up. See you all tomorrow evening, guys, unless something breaks. Signing off, Chico and Dude.